What's up, everybody? It's your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells coming at you. And y'all know what time it is. It's time for another edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. So y'all make sure y'all follow those socials, Facebook at SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the notification bell to be alerted to any videos that I upload. And we got a lot of new stuff coming to you consistently, so y'all make sure y'all keep it locked with us. And now on to the show.
Yo, SWAC talk. Light on the mic, it's a play. See Wells the guy taking us state to state. Catch us Wednesday, Sunday, stats on the buffet. From gridiron to the court, we got the say. Football spirals, hoop dreams in the chat. Chopping it up, deep dives on every stat. Texas to Florida, repping border to border. Arkansas to Bama, the vibe getting warmer. SWAC talk, keep the knowledge on deck. See Wells spinning wisdom, gotta show respect. Facts flying higher than a wide receiver's check. From football to hoops, what y'all expect? Guests roll through, dropping stories untold. Legends from the SWAC, spitting straight gold. Locker room vibe, secrets unfold. CW heavy like a championship hold. The South's got a rhythm, a culture to match. Each stat, each fact, another door latch. SWAC talk connects like a perfect pass catch. From Alabama skies to Florida's grass patch. SWAC talk, keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday, where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Ballin' on the mic, that's how we survive. Keep the energy alive. Wednesday to Sunday where the legends thrive. Facts and stats sharper than a coach's knife. Ballin' on the mic, that's how we survive.
All right, everybody, what is going on? How y'all doing? Welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I am your tour guide around the SWAC C Wells Convention. And today we're gonna share some big news from the SWAC. They had their spring meeting this weekend, so they made some big moves this weekend, and we're going to talk about those. The SWAC has opted into the House versus NCAA settlement, and so that's gonna allow for schools to start to directly pay their players. So with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this. Um, we have a video coming probably Wednesday. I think I'm gonna aim for Wednesday. That's gonna be our intriguing, interesting impact transfers for each team for the 2025 football season. So that'll be coming at you Wednesday. Swag Smoke coming at you next Thursday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then in the meantime, between time, we'll have some other videos dropping early next week. So y'all keep it locked here. And so let's go ahead and jump into this. Like I said, the SWAC had their spring meeting in Destin, Florida this past weekend on Friday and Saturday. And the SWAC, all 12 SWAC institutions opted into the House settlement. Additionally, the league placed no scholarship caps on any sports in the conference currently sponsored. Commissioner McClellan said that this is undoubtedly a significant moment for the Southwestern Athletic Conference and our 12 member institutions as we move forward into a new era of intercollegiate athletics. The SWAC remains steadfast in our commitment to provide our members with the resources needed to positively impact our student athletes academically and athletically. So just kind of taking a look at what the House versus NCAA settlement is, just in case you haven't really paid a lot of attention to it. It is it is basically a situation where the NCAA is being required to allow schools to pay athletes directly. The House versus NCAA settlement, also known as the College Athletic NIL litigation, is a landmark antitrust settlement that received final court approval on June 6, 2025. The key aspects of this settlement, this historic settlement amount, $2.8 billion settlement was approved to compensate college athletes who did not receive name, image, and likeness or NIL payments between 2016 and 2024. Future revenue sharing starting in 2025, universities can directly pay athletes up to $20.5 million annually, increasing 4% each year. There is a new oversight body, the College Sports Commission, LLC or CSC, will oversee revenue sharing, NIL deals, and roster limits, replacing the NCAA's role in enforcing these areas. Roster limits. New rules will limit the number of players allowed on a team roster. For example, football teams will be capped at 32 players per team. Exceed this limit, grandfathered in current athletes. Shift in college sports. This settlement marks a significant shift in college sports, moving away from traditional amateurism model and allowing for direct athlete compensation. Potential for continued litigation. Although the settlement has received final approval, it does not fully resolve all disputes, and further litigation is expected, potentially including challenges based on Title IX. An appeal citing Title IX concerns has already delayed the first payments. Federal litigation. Congress is working on legislation federal legislation. Congress is working on legislation to address unresolved issues and potential conflicts with state NIL laws. Impact on athletes, back pay. Athletes who competed between 2016 and 2024 were affected by the previous restrictions on NIL compensation are eligible for back pay, direct compensation. Current athletes can now receive direct payments from their university through revenue sharing pool. Continue NIL deals. Athletes can still enter into third party NIL deals, but those exceeding $600 must be reported and may be subject to review. Impact on schools, financial commitment. The settlement will require universities to manage new financial commitments related to back pay and revenue sharing. Flexibility and opportunities. The elimination of scholarship limits provides institutions with greater flexibility in offering scholarships and athletic opportunities. Potential for sport cuts. Some concerns exist that non revenue generating sports may face funding cuts as resources are prioritized for football and men's basketball. Important notes: the $2.8 billion settlement is distributed to eligible athletes over 10 years. Schools that opt in to the settlement agree to follow the new roster limits and revenue sharing framework. Non-defendant conference institutions, those outside of the Power Five, have the option to opt in to the settlement. If they do not opt in, they will continue to follow the pre-house NCAA rules regarding athlete financial benefits. Disputes regarding the validity of NIL deals and potential Title IX violations may continue to arise. So, with this being said, the SWAC has chosen to become a part of this, and they have chosen to not have the roster limits. So, in terms of football, the scholarship roster limit is 63. Um, by getting rid of that, they can have as many scholarships as that school can afford to pay. Same thing with basketball. The roster limit moved from 13 to 15. So um, any school that wants to have more scholarship athletes in football or basketball per se can do that, provided that they can afford to pay those scholarships. So basically, what this says is that now everybody can kind of do what they want in terms of how many players they want to have on scholarship, provided that they can afford that. And that's a big game changer for the Spark because that allows certain schools to get more players. this is a good thing on paper because now now schools can pay their players provided that they have the funds to do so. Um, it's gonna kind of I think it's gonna kind of limit the collectives and things like that. But if you choose to not have the funds, I think you can still operate with the collectives. So there's still there's still avenues for schools to be able to generate the money or get help to generate the money. But the money now will be coming directly from the schools and not the outside entities. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Right now this is very bare bones and very early in the process. It's new, and everybody wants to get, everybody in the SWAC wants to get into it. Um, I want to see how many FCS conferences have opted in because there are some conferences that are choosing not to opt in, and everybody has their different reasons for doing what they're doing and making those decisions. In the SWAC have chosen to make that jump, and so we'll see if they can how this works out moving forward. um Moving forward, how this works out, who does who's going to be able to benefit, um and who's going to be able to kind of um make some things work out in their favor. So we're going to definitely keep our eyes on this situation as we move forward. I think like I said, if it's a positive thing and it can be done right, I definitely think that it's a good move because it allows for players to start to get the pay that they should get, and it's gonna kind of curb some of those big NIL payments, which will start to even out some things and allow for guys to and girls to hit the portal and come here, and get paid because everybody's not getting that $600,000-$700,000 $1 million payment. And I think to some degree that has kind of stymied some people who from going into the portal to move to this level because they were looking at getting the big bag. If everything's kind of even and there's revenue sharing, then that's gonna kind of even out some things, and maybe that'll start to allow for some of the programs to still compete because as the money gets bigger, everything kind of shifts, and the smaller programs are gonna suffer. So um, we'll see. If everybody starts to get those players who are eligible, they get that back pay, and the programs that want to pay people directly, they have the means to do so now. But is one thing that you got to kind of look at on the other scale is this could be more of a bidding war and more of a rich get richer type of situation, because everybody's not going to be able to provide money from the schools to pay players. But right now the SWAC opting in is a big first step. Where this goes from here, we'll have to continue to monitor this and see. But from this point forward, the SWAC is making that jump to allow their schools to pay players directly and to not have limits on roster sizes, which to me is a big thing because you see some schools bringing in a lot of guys in the portal, especially in football, bringing in a lot of guys out of the portal. And now you don't have to cap that at 63 if you can finance it. So it's gonna, we're gonna see how this goes. There will be some people who are gonna have to kind of take a long look at their programs. Everybody's gonna, people are gonna try to jump on board right away, and they'll find out, once things get going that maybe this is not the right move for them, and this could cause a split in conferences. You're gonna have a point where certain schools aren't gonna be able to continue to keep up with everybody, and maybe this causes a split, and then maybe this down the line is the reason. It will be the reason why some schools make a move and some don't. There is some feeling that the SWAC is, on paper, FBS because they don't participate in the playoffs, and now they're not doing the roster limits. But on field product, doesn't really equal that, and financially, it doesn't really equal that either right now. But um, we'll see. We'll see what things go. Um, Moving forward. So right now, the SWAC is, taking that first step, and we'll just continue to monitor this. I just wanted to kind of, put a few thoughts, thoughts on video, thoughts on paper, however you want to put it on this, and we'll continue to talk about this as things start to trickle in. But this is an exciting first step, and we'll see where this goes. So with that being said, man, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC Seawell, signing out, SWAC opting in, and we're gonna continue to monitor this. If you got any other details you want to chime in, you can put them in the comments, and we'll always move from there. So, with that being said, I'm your tour guide signing out, and I'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.